Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repairs. So I'm going through some new old stock parts, because that's kind of one of the things I do. And I came across some oil pumps, some new ones, and Homelite did some preservative. I don't know exactly what it was. I've always referred to it as Cosmoline, but I know that's a brand name. So, whatever it is, it's nasty after all these years. So this is a new old stock pump. For Super XL, this is the A59809B. And you should be able to turn this. But I'll be damned if you can. This is seized solid. Now it's not junk though. It's just, you can see it in the gear. And you can see it kind of smeared around various spots. It's hardened. Again, I'd call it Cosmoline. What it is, I don't know. But it's a preservative. It's meant to keep those shafts from rusting. So what do? Well, you take it apart. And I know that's blasphemy on a new old stock part. But that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you guys a super simple, easy way to clean this stuff. And what we're taking off here is essentially a bearing. This end support is a piece of bronze that the shaft, the plunger shaft, rides on. So once that's loose, see how that came right out? So that's not where it was seized. It's where the steel shaft is in the aluminum housing. That's where it's actually seized. Now, is it possible that you could spray some WD down in here and get it to free up? Yeah, maybe. I've had very limited luck with that. But this end cap isn't the only thing you need to take off. You've got to take off the cam up here. And you want a big screwdriver that will fit this properly. Oh, God, is that tight. That sucks. Whew! Don't want to put it in the vise and risk marring it up yet. How can we do this? Like I say, I do not want to mar this up or damage it in any way. Normally they aren't that tight. I'm going to try a glove first, and if that doesn't work, then we will try using a crescent wrench. There we go. Whew. Alright, so this is going to have a gasket underneath it. This one may or may not be seized to the... Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is also pretty clean, so we know that wasn't the point of contention. Again, it's back here. I know that from experience. So now you've got to carefully work it out. And what you want to do is try prying it up a little bit, nice and easy. I'm not even leaving any marks behind. You don't want to damage those gears. And when you get it far enough out, I still can't pull that. So I'm going to keep working this. I'm just pushing now. There we go. Now that plunk, there it is, right there. See all that? That is what seized that up. So now, what you want is some brake cleaner. Some brake cleaner to clean this out. So just a little bit down in there.
Dad.
Alright. And that came out a little more enthusiastically than I would like. And let that sit down in there. Come on. Stand up, you son of a bitch. There we go. I'm going to try and clean some of this off. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Now, you don't want to necessarily do this unless you know that you're going to keep it in a, you're either going to use the pump or keep it in a nice dry spot. I know this isn't going to be exposed to moisture before it's sold, so I have no problem cleaning all this stuff up. So now I'm going to just clean out. Just kind of bay that it rides in here a little bit. And that should have liquefied it. So in theory, that ought to slip in pretty easily. And it is until there. Now it's a little bit rough again. So I'm going to pull it back out. And we're going to give it a shot of PB Blaster. PB Blaster is never bad in an oil pump. And I'm not being a smart aleck. It's good to get this pre-lubed. So I'm twisting it as I put it down in there. There we go. Now she's going. Not 100% smooth. It's getting there. And I actually have that plunger seated just a little too much. I'll pop it back up. Okay, now it's nice and smooth. When you can roll this over by hand, you know you got it. So now we're going to make sure so the way this pump works, this the worm gear drives this, and it actually moves this shaft up and down in the bore. So you can see how that is machined. This screw follows that, and it forces that plunger in and out ever so slightly, and that is the pumping mechanism on this style of pump. So when you're putting this back together, you want to make damn certain that you get it lined up. So you just look down from the top. Make sure you're not going to screw this down on top of the plunger. Thread it in by hand, and if it goes flat like that, you've got it. But then just roll it over. So now it's good. God, that kid is loud. I could get him a muffler. Put everything back together, and you want to get everything nice and tight, but it doesn't need to be obscenely tight. Those are small screws, you don't want to strip them out. Tighten up your top one. That is good enough. God, I don't know where these big fat flies came from, but I don't like them. And then back in the bag it goes. Now there's going to be a little residual oil left on that one. Is what it is. Got to do this with every new old stock pump that I have ever had through this shop. I have had to do that too, and I do that before sending them out. So the Super EZ automatic pump is much the same, just a little bit smaller. And I'm just about stabbing myself. I can't move that plunger. Now if you installed this and fired up your saw, I think it would break loose eventually, but it wouldn't be good on the thrust washers. It wouldn't be good on the worm gear, and it sure as hell wouldn't be good on the pump. So, let's see if we can get this one apart. Ugh, something's gonna go badly there. I can tell. So you know what I'm gonna do? I am gonna do the ultimate cheat and make things a little easier on myself. At least I think I'm gonna make it easier on myself. Yep. I'm like an impact. Love a good impact. Okay. Wow. That even had a fair amount of gobbledygook on it. So we're going to let it sit there and de-yuckify. Yes, that's a new word, de-yuckify. Same idea, same bronze bushing on this end, bearing, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's technically a bushing because it's not, doesn't have any needles to it, but hey, whatever. Don't need to split hairs. Okay, so once again, that comes off easily. That's not where the problem is, although I can see some buildup of junk there. Well, let's try prying out. I think this is just a check valve. I'm going to check. Haha. Just to make sure I don't damage something. I think that's all this is a check valve. Ah! And if it is, I don't want to lose the little ball and spring that's under it. Yeah, that's all it is. And this is the pump that will work on either system. The early or the late Super XL system. So I'll see if I can get this plunger to start moving. Ah, okay, that was a sudden movement. Would have preferred a little smoother, but hey, beggars can't afford to be choosers. Now why did you jam up now? I want to pry from the other side and damage the seal. Can't say that I like prying on this at all. There she goes. Alright. Same kind of routine. This one's not in as bad a shape. Just let that soak in for a second. I don't see a hell of a lot down here. You can feel it. Okay, she's getting there. I say, I don't know how long this stuff was intended to sit, but when it's sat as long as it has, it turns into a substance that's not real friendly to movement. An oil pump's all about movement. Alright, give it a dose of PB. Down the hatch. It's already feeling better. If I can spin it into plate now, my finger's too big for that. Okay. You gotta be careful doing this. You don't want to mar the gears up, but I'm not pushing that hard. So I'm not too terribly concerned. Alright. Same thing. Get your depth. And I want just a smidge too far. Alright. That went down. Okay, now that is still stiff. but they also turn better one direction than the other in a lot of cases. And I don't want to mar the gear up, but this is definitely free. There we go. He is set. And actually it's pumping because it just pumped that PB blaster all over my hand. Yay! Just give some of that back to where that bushing is going to reside. So just like on the other style, put this back together. And these are tiny little screws, so be gentle. Don't go crazy if you value your oil pump. Okay. All right, good enough. So that's probably enough of this. Get you guys pretty well familiar with what you need to do. So if you buy a pump from me, I will have tested this because I know better. If you buy it from someone else, I don't honestly know if there's any other sellers that are actually pulling these out of the box and checking them. So if you buy from someone on eBay, do this check, you know, and take the time before you just drop it on the saw and go. Maybe the difference between ruining a new part and having one that'll last the lifetime of your saw. So hopefully this little bit of information helps you guys.